I just touched down in the city, I'm hitting the celly, then I'm on the street and I'm hitting your celly, and you better answer, I'm not about to wait, and it's fuck what they tell me and fuck what they sell me. I'm tired and way too expensive for you, you could call me Pirelli. I'm throwing tequila inside of my belly, I'm writing they hits, you could call me John Belly,
I bet these boring minute and 45-second blood sigil opening credits mean something really cool if you're willing to do a bunch of online research and stuff. Research.
A couple things here. First, that fake-ass laugh. Second, these credits are not boring. Between the amazing opening theme and the cool visuals, they're actually very entertaining. Third, he straight up just admitted that he is not willing to do any research to make his videos better. What does that tell you? Maybe that he doesn't give a shit about his audience? And finally, you really don't need to do any research at all to understand the symbolism of these opening visuals. You just need some common sense and to pay attention to the show, which I guess are both things you're incapable of.
The castle is surrounded by a deep, dry moat.
Thinking that your dry moat is in any way an enticement.
Discount Jeremy makes a cringy sexual joke that isn't funny cliche.
It is well fortified against any future Dornish incursions.
I could have died and come back to life 5 times and still not know or care anything about Dorne, beyond their wine, and that I haven't been using the term Dornish incursion as a metaphor for spring break for the past 10 years.
Hey, that's 2 in a row. Also, let's not blame Game of Thrones flaws on House of the Dragon. The final 4 seasons of that show can be seen separately.
Willem Blackwood doesn't have a bigger part in this episode. Seriously, I'd trade a supercut of him stabbing fools over the long drawn-out conversations to follow regarding who's making babies with whom.
Whoa. Wait a second. He quite literally just admitted that he would prefer to watch a show where some random guy randomly stabs a bunch of other random guys for no apparent reason, rather than a super intriguing show that deals with politics and succession and actually has a plot. Remember, that's coming from somebody who watches TV shows for a living.
Don't look, princess.
Saying this to the same person you watched viciously stab a boar to death in the previous episode.
And you're yet again ignoring Sir Criston's characterization. Sure, he doesn't need to do this, but it falls perfectly in line with who he is as a person, meaning the show did not make a mistake.
You should make landfall inside the hour, princess.
Oh good, fast travel has been enabled. I was worried they might actually expand the world and let us learn more about the characters during their journeys. That would have been terrible.
This is just adorable. Discount Jeremy is infamous for ignoring characterization and development, which he has done consistently throughout each episode, and now he's complaining about not getting any characterization because he didn't pay attention to it before. This is a fault of your stupidity, Aaron, not a fault of the show.
Take cover!
Damon's a cheeky asshole, sure, and I might believe he's enough of a cheeky asshole that he wouldn't care about damaging the boat or the people on it. But why is he putting his precious Caraxes at risk by breaking the Dragon Hard Deck rules?
Because he's not putting Caraxes at risk? Ever heard of these things called dragon scales?
I would say that the show gives us one of those full minute of pointless anticipatory walking scenes here, but it does include one person sweeping the stairs. So, excitement?
This is called establishing the setting and the mood, both of which are critical things for a TV show to do. It's hilarious to me how you still don't understand things like this when you do this shit for a living.
Thinking you're not at risk because it's just the tip.
Discount Jeremy makes a cringy dick tip joke that isn't funny cliche.
This entire scene tries to build tension out of Damon's arrival, but instead it just becomes 2 minutes of boredom. Is someone nearby sexing up their dad's sister? Because I can't hear anything over the deafening sounds of the anticlimax.
Not surprisingly, you're wrong yet again. This scene does build tension very well with Damon's entrance. The reason you think the tension goes away is because you're incapable of seeing past a single scene, but in reality the tension never goes away and is actually paid off later when Viserys banishes Daemon.
He hasn't yet seen the new tapestries gifted to you by Norvos and Cohor.
Naming your children Norvos or Cohor.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the part of the video where Discount Jeremy shows us his complete ignorance by saying that Norvos and Cohor are people. Those are cities, my man, and you would have known that if you actually cared about making high-quality videos and looked it up, rather than prioritizing quantity and guessing.
How romantic it must be to get imprisoned in a castle and me to squeeze out heirs.
I love Princess Rhaenyra's steadfastness in not accepting her gender roles. I'm sure if she ever does decide to have kids, the show will do an excellent job of helping us understand her character's change of heart and development instead of, I don't know, skipping the entire 10 years when it happens.
Hey, that's awesome. You're really in for a treat because the show does an excellent job of helping us understand her thought process even with the time skip. I don't know why you added a sin instead of removing one. That's kind of weird. But if you actually pay attention to the show, then you're going to get exactly what you just asked for despite the 10-year time skip. Frankly, it's very impressive how the writers are able to help us understand these things while also including those time skips.
You've matured yourself these last 4 years, Princess.
You'll get used to the attention.
This is just the tip of the spear when it comes to how uncomfortable this relationship is ultimately going to make us.
Oh, whoops. The Sins editors must have accidentally cut off the last part of that line where he explained how that's not a sin because it's a really good aspect of the story.
I just realized this boring conversation between these two has been going on over a minute now, and I totally forgot I had a skip button. That's on me, lovelies. And by on me, I mean I'm sitting the show for it.
Did he just call this very interesting conversation boring? Really? Okay, by royal decree, anytime Discount Jeremy incorrectly calls this show boring, I'm adding 1,000 sins. Starting now.
I don't wish to cause you further distress.
Well, then maybe don't interrupt. They hadn't completed that last riveting section of the discussion on the sea snake yet. Please, let them
Discount Jeremy thinks this show is boring cliche.
Joe thinks focusing on the candle being held will distract me from realizing we are yet again just watching people walk around. Show is wrong.
For the second time this video, this is called establishing the setting and mood. How the hell do you not understand this? It's literally one of the most basic aspects of filmmaking.
Thinking you can tell anything from a sniff test when you're in the in the streets stage of civilization.
And we've come to the part of the video where Discount Jeremy starts sending completely inconsequential shit that nobody cares about so that he can pad the sync count and runtime.
And we're walking again. I swear someone behind the show was like, you know that thing that Sorkin does that people love? The walk and talk? Yeah, let's do that, except never at the same time. So anytime someone's talking, there'll be nothing to engage the eyes visually. And anytime people are walking, there's nothing to engage the brain intellectually. It will rule.
And you're completely wrong yet again. This walking scene accomplished two things. First, it gets us from point A to point B, and second, it builds tension. Those two purposes together do engage the audience, assuming the audience has a few brain cells.
Well, on its skull, this looks like an overcandling situation, but it's still incredibly dark in here. So my professional recommendation is going to be for bigger candles.
I've already explained this in previous videos, but these candles are not meant to light up the room. They're more akin to a candlelight vigil. Between the next 3 sins, there's a total of 3 pop culture references that aren't sins of the episode. So guess how many sins that's worth?
You have a far kinder touch than they do.
We're now cutting between an uncle seducing his niece in the Cirque de Hornet district to a decomposing king getting a sponge bath and passionless sex from his young bride. It's like the show is purposely not giving us anything we want to actually see. And call me crazy, but eventually I'm going to want to see something that I want to see.
Wait a second, you don't want to see the intriguing and quite frankly phenomenal story the episode is showing us? Why? Are you brain dead? Wait, I already know the answer to that.
Our good king names his daughter a girl, his heir.
I honestly didn't think we could get news position in a world before television, but never underestimate the desperation of scriptwriters. I'm impressed even.
He's acting like this exposition is forced, but it's not. I mean, the purpose of this scene is to show the audience that the common people will not accept Rhaenyra as their queen, which is never explicitly stated, but rather shown.
4 copper street rat.
Street rat? But would they buy that? You'd think that they'd look closer.
Discount Jeremy tries to sing in a video cliche.
Not that I can really show you any of it, but scene in a Game of Thrones show uses nudity to pretend to be interesting cliche.
That's not a cliche, my guy. Also, this scene is interesting, and not because of the nudity. It gives us a very interesting look into Daemon and Rhaenyra's characters, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised that you're focused more on the tits than the story.
Damon?
I know the jig's probably already up, but did you really have to call out his name so people knew without a doubt who you actually are?
Daemon presumably isn't an uncommon name in this world, especially after the prince was given that name, so her referring to him by his name really isn't a giveaway of her identity.
Wait, is that the same rat from earlier? That's it. If this isn't proven later to be someone warging into this rat to spy on people, we riot.
Everything wrong with House of the Dragon, ladies and gentlemen. The show is not being a total idiot.
And now these two are going to copulate as well, because why not? I swear as I'm watching this show, my dog is vigorously humping her dog bed, and truly there's no better metaphor for this show. In both cases, I just let them finish so we can both move on with our lives.
And for the 9 millionth time, he's choosing to ignore the story and characterization that the show is giving us in lieu of making a dog humping joke and claiming that the show isn't very good, which isn't funny or correct.
At least I thought they were going to copulate. It's almost 2 minutes later and they're still taking off their clothes. I guess because this relationship is super romantic and will be so meaningful to them both for the rest of the series.
For somebody who watches TV for a living, you have a concerning lack of critical thinking skills when it comes to television. Showing us the undressing in full gives the audience a better sense of the conflict within Sir Criston. Throughout this entire scene, he has the ability to stop and remain loyal to his vows, but he continues regardless despite clearly being conflicted right up until the end. This is actually a great example of incredible storytelling that isn't simply spoon-fed to the audience, which I guess is why you didn't understand it at all. Also, he implied that this scene is boring, which is incorrect. So...
I don't need protection from a common law.
I'm not casting judgment here, just saying from a public health standpoint, this sounds exactly like a situation in which someone would need protection.
Discount Jeremy makes a cringy condom joke that isn't funny cliche.
I learned that the skin trade could only take me so far in this life.
Cool. Could you tell HBO?
Unfunny joke is unfunny.
They were engaged in behaviors unbecoming of a maiden.
After that, Viserys asks Otto to elaborate, and we get...
Daemon and Rhaenyra were seen together in the bowels of a pleasure den.
And we all know what this means, but Viserys is playing obtuse and requests more explanation, and ultimately we land on...
coupling.
That's it. After all the foreplay, we get fucking coupling, which may be the saddest wordgasm I've ever experienced.
Everything wrong with King of the Narrow Sea, ladies and gentlemen. Otto Hightower said coupling.
Also using the word bowels in the same sentence as pleasure den.
Pointing things out on the screen.
What happened last night?
What Happened Last Night is a 2016 movie about college students Danny and Sarah who wake up one morning in bed next to each other after a night of hard partying with no recollection of what happened the night before or how they met. Not a single Rotten Tomatoes critic has reviewed it and has a 3.6 rating on IMDb, and I'm so bored by this episode that I swear if it's streaming anywhere, I'm just adding 30 more sins and watching that terrible movie instead of this. And we'll see where it's at. Oh, it's on Vudu with ads. And since I don't do ads, I guess just the one sin and we get to slog through the rest of this episode together.
Very interesting. Let's check House of the Dragon's Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb scores. Wow, not bad. So, what were you saying? Also, he yet again called something that's not boring, boring. Also, Discount Jeremy makes a pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the episode cliche.
You fucked Daemon in a pleasure house.
Actually, he said you coupled, which could be anything from light spooning to mani-pedis, so I'm still not sure how anyone knows what you actually did.
Well, of course you don't, because you don't have any common sense. But Allison does, so this isn't a sin.
It's foolish of you to place yourself in a position where your virtue could even come into question.
Blaming someone for how others choose to see them.
Pointing things out on the screen.
Daemon's Walk of Shame is just a regular old vanilla walk of shame and not the usual ultra-spicy Westeros-style walk of shame.
Again, the editors must have accidentally cut out the second part of that line where he explains how that's not a sin.
Widow to me.
I hate this family, which I guess is fine because at least I have... well, there was that one... The kid from the beginning of the episode was kind of fun. Is he coming back?
Would you look at that, people? He's sinning the show for featuring gray characters instead of black and white good guys versus bad guys. After hearing shit like this, do you understand why I say he has the intellectual capacity of a 12-year-old?
You believe he lied? How does confessing to such things serve him?
Are you serious right now? He literally just told you how. Remember the whole wed her to me thing from like 5 seconds ago?
Discount Jeremy ignores characterization and therefore doesn't understand that character ex machina.
From my blood come the prince that was promised, and his will be the song of ice and fire.
All of this seems really weighty and cool, until you remember they crowned f***ing Bran.
And that's a sin of Game of Thrones, not this show. Also, you don't get to say shit like that when you didn't even sin the fact that Bran got crowned in the finale. You literally let that part go without sinning it at all.
Gods have a dark wit.
Could they pass along some of that wit to the writers of the show? Asking for an audience.
Whoa, slow down there, buddy. First, that's hypocritical coming from someone who wants a really good political show to devolve into a bunch of people bashing their brains in for no reason with no story or plot. Second, the writers of this show are fantastic and clearly very witty based on the way they're able to tell this story. So...
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
Your interests no longer align with those of the realm. Your judgment has been compromised.
The issue here isn't that King Viserys is wrong. He's not. The issue is that this means we're losing Otto Hightower, who is one of the only interesting characters in the show. This is going to happen a lot, isn't it?
What do you mean, one of the only interesting characters in the show? We still have Viserys, Rhaenyra, Daemon, Alicent, the entirety of House Velaryon, Lord Strong and his sons, and plenty more.
Oh yeah, I would do everything to her. I would wreck that chick.